Good morning, everyone. I'm very glad to present next the emerging BIM trends which have the potential to extend the use of BIM for smart cities. But before I get started, I would like to thank Julian Toro for this great opportunity to be here. My Spanish is a bit rusty, but I hope English is okay for everyone. Some of you might know us from last year when Simon Ashworth, my colleague, was here representing the Institute of Facility Management, which is part of the Zurich University of Applied Sciences. I'm a research associate in real estate management, and my projects basically explore how new technological developments can unlock the sustainability potential of BIM for real estate. Some research I recently published is mainly focused on the potential of BIM for lifecycle management and common data environment. As a background, I have a master's degree in architecture, urban design, and real estate, 3 separate ones at different European universities, and I've worked several years as an architect before joining the research unit, so it was for me also a turning point in my career. Hopefully I will have more. After a brief overview on the European and Swiss digital transformation, I will set the research foundations for my presentations, which is actually the BIM transition to the urban scale through advances in GeoBIM. This is basically the link which connects BIM with GeoBIM towards smart cities. The core of the presentation will be basically the BIM emerging tools which can actually extend the use of BIM in urban context for the development of smart city solutions, from digital twins to blockchain or extended realities. First, let's look a bit at the digital transformation in real estate, and I'll be glad to tell you how it is now in Switzerland. Well, the real estate is a massive industry in Switzerland, and I'm sure here as well. It accounts for 3,000 milliards in the current value of the building stock. However, we work in a very, very conservative industry, which is actually on the last place to innovate when it comes to adopting new technologies. There is a need to innovate to overcome a lot of challenges. It's not that everything is perfect, because there are a lot of inaccurate valuations, cost overruns. There is a lack of transparency in many countries, so even in a perfect systems like Switzerland. And there is a need to innovate to overcome these challenges. Some investors are now demanding for more and more improvements to save costs and improve the way projects are delivered. And just as an example, with BIM, we can basically reduce the operational costs, become more competitive on the market. BIM has already proved to be actually a solution. However, it's mostly used in the design, but we all know most of the savings are actually happening in the operational phase of the building during the life cycle. As a surprise, all over the world, prop-tech startups start to appear, are being now founded. I am not sure how it is here. But in Switzerland, there are currently 200 prop tech startups. These are actually based on technology and digital innovations, which are very much related to property. So are there things going to change in the future? All these startups emerge because I believe we are in a new economic cycle. If we look back in time at these key waves, which were researched by a famous Russian economist, actually this cycle supports the idea that the economy goes through a long wave cycle of growth and decline, which lasts for 60 years. These waves are always triggered by big technological innovations like electricity, IT, and so forth. So where are we now with BIM, and where are we heading? Well, I believe we are entering a new wave of technological innovations, which could be similar with the rise of the internet and IT in the 90s. Now, what are the trends behind all these startups? We all know maybe the Gartner hype cycle, and we saw blockchain is coming, IoT, but the question is now how do these trends impact building information modeling? Because Gartner makes these market analyses to show predictions for the future. What are the expectations? But it's always up to us to look at the links and how can we use them to make more value of BIM, especially in the context of smart cities. Why trends? Well, we know technology is really developing exponentially, so it's evolving very fast. And it's good to think about what is going to happen in the future, so that as an organization we can already have in place a strategy to be ready and to stay competitive. So we can only choose to take part or not in the digital transformation. However, if we don't embrace this change, we might lose serious competitive advantage. So I've been said at the beginning that BIM is now evolving and it's being used also at urban scales. Well, until now, BIM applications were very much limited to buildings, but the possibilities of BIM are basically huge in terms of smart cities. Because in addition to the data of buildings, we can add data on energy, water supply, waste water management, and it's possible to process this data further together with geoinformation systems, and also take into account the green spaces and everything that can improve the quality of our lives. Luckily, GeoBIM now enables some important benefits, because we can basically understand how the project fits into the urban context, in the transportation systems, and with the geointelligence we can actually also have real-time information to make more informed decisions. Smart city is actually hard to define. I've been looking for several definitions, but it's basically an evolution. Some are calling it Tel City, Information City, Digital City. But actually, when we consider smart cities, we also take into account sustainability. And yes, starting from the first three pillars of sustainability: economic, social, and environmental, with BIM we can make the transition to more responsive neighborhoods, and so by integrating also mobility and environment. Next, in the next section, I would like to introduce some trends which, in combination with BIM, have potential to really make a difference and capture more value if applied on cities. First, the common data environment. We have been already seen in the previous presentations what are the future developments. However, I would like to take a step back and just point out that the real estate industry is extremely fragmented. In finance, for example, it's very centralized. We have only an exchange stock, so a global exchange, a ledger. But in the real estate in industry, everyone is working as an expert in their fields. So this is really a challenge. As a consequence, as you see here, there is a very broad offer of BIM solution. BIM is truly an ecosystem, and there is no single software that can do everything. Regardless of which we use, Revit or Archicad, it just simply can't do everything. So there is now a market opportunity to develop integration, especially to connect it with GeoBIM. And here you can see a possible solution. The common data environment as defined in the current ISO standards. It's actually an open source-based BIM servers which can bring together all the different sets of information from different stakeholders. And we as an industry, so we can take benefit from this and avoid miscommunication problems which lead to cost overruns and so forth. It's actually a single source of truth, which collects and manages the alphanumerical and the documents of a project. In the future, it can be in level 3 BIM used at its full capacity if there are standards developed which can make this exchange. So open standards are very important in this respect. Not only IFC, but model view definitions, also the IFD and so forth. Because I'm working at Institute of Facility Management, well, I did also some tests, and I tried to import the BIM model of our university, which have been created in Revit, into a CAFAM software. It was very limiting how I could use it, but I believe that in the future the model could be in a more decentralized platform, the so-called middleware platforms, which can pull data from different sources. One solution, you might know it, is Ecodomus, but there are several PropTechs which are developing. What's new is integrating now IoT data, so live streams of data can also become reality. And sure, there are more solutions like the web of link building data, which we have seen also in the previous presentations, like the Internet of Data, also based on this decentralized concept. In practice, we can, in the future, extend these capabilities of common data environments to an urban neighborhood. And you can see here a model which I've been developed this year, where we can have basically also the tenants and users and owners involved in a feedback loop, all connected via a common data environment, which would also enable some co-creation processes during the construction or the real estate development of a project. The advantages are huge because actually we can generate several scenarios and receive immediate feedback from tenants, from all stakeholders involved. We can also have detailed planning of construction and integrate the laws and the regulations. And most importantly, have a continuous end users feedback loop. Also, it's now possible to have this transition from project information models to asset information model and further on to digital twins. I'll go quickly because you might know already the standards. So the project information model, we would call it as design BIM. We used at the beginning of a project. Further, the facility managers are working on building up the operational model of the building used for the typical FM processes. But in the future, we could also have a live link which ties actually the virtual and the real products together, commonly known now as digital twins. Some examples are already on the market developed by Autodesk, like the project Dasher here, where different sensors can be visualized live. And in Switzerland, Nest building is now on this platform with all the sensors connected only in the web browsers. We can have a look at the live data. There's a lot of potential, sure, when it comes to data analytics and artificial intelligence. So far, we would only be able to visualize BIM models, but we can, when more data becomes available, we can actually structure it and investigate how can we create information and knowledge. Here is a model which was actually developed by Bilal Sukkar, and it's based on the ancient ACAR model, so data, information, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So the question is, how can we use this data in a good way so we can really make value out of it? One example which goes further is actually Archelize, a startup from Zurich, which is using some artificial intelligence algorithms. So they would go a step further from predictive maintenance, and they look how we can use artificial intelligence to really use BIM for more than it was done traditionally. So we could answer questions like, how can an office space be optimally divided so users could feel comfortable and so forth. These tools would, obviously an architect would know the answer for this, but these tools are important also to democratize BIM and construction industry so that everyone could have a word to say and could participate in decision making. There is definitely a lot of potential when it comes to laser scanning and integrating to BIM for, especially for city mapping. In this use case I've been working on, I have been seen from that the process is manual, so even though a scan to BIM can really increase the efficiency over the life cycle because we capture reality and we can have live and more accurate data. Currently, it's difficult to create automatic BIM models, 3D geometry from point clouds. There was a video, sorry, I see that the videos don't work, but it's fine, we can skip it. New developments, obviously we could already integrate laser point data of cities and create these very accurate open databases with city models, which could actually help us a lot. Very briefly, I would say that also BIM to fabrication for more flexible and modular neighborhoods has definitely potential. And this was again a small video, but with a lot of BIM objects from the use cases I've been developed. But in the future, we could use it for fabrication. So the BIM objects are actually intelligent because they can automatically rebuild themselves based on models, based on information attaching them, and we can in the future so use it to create more flexible apartment buildings, and so which could change together with the market demand. Well, at least in Switzerland, blockchain is quite a hype because it is the country where there is the most favorable regulations for blockchain. And in relation to BIM, it can really help with the challenge of trust, because a lot of financial data is not stored in BIM because of trust issues. So if this data is standardized and put on a blockchain, then we can do a lot more. So plus there will not be an intermediary, so the middleman disappears, and transaction would be much faster. Because now they are actually the first organization, so really blockchain for real estate, and they state actually that it can enable every property to have a correspondent digital address, which can include all the sensitive information, finance, legal, occupancy, IoT data, which many times are not included on the BIM model because of the lack of trust. Smart contracts are used quite a lot in facility management, for example. Through these contracts, we can basically speed up the payment process, and by connecting it with the property DNA of buildings, use it in transaction and also during the operational in delivering more innovative energy efficiency data services. We know already that BIM has been extensively used in sustainability analysis. You might know already that it is possible to calculate from the BIM model automatically the credits required for different sustainability certifications, and we can also assess design options based on life cycle costs and so forth. In the context of smart cities, we can perform more urban analysis, like for example, this a very simple one, but very useful, a solar analysis, where we could actually provide an estimation of the total amount of solar energy that could be used and also controlled. Here are just some snapshots from the use case I've been developing, and also been conducting a survey to see actually what is the current state of the art and what are the challenges and the opportunities of integrating BIM with life cycle assessment and life cycle costing. Also, I've been working on an integration model, and some initial steps have been here developed. I could say from my experience that classification systems are very important, and for streamlined integration with lifecycle costing to software tools. From the survey, you can see that there are quite a lot of challenges, so negative factors. One of the most important is that databases with cost and environmental data are not linked with the BIM softwares. Moreover, there is a lack of accessibility to these cost databases in different countries, so they don't exist, or lack of technical skills. Luckily, as you can see here, there are a lot of benefits which would come from this integration. Increased accuracy, increased collaboration and transparency, also better cost estimating. So these positive factors can really help in developing more and more software solutions. I believe that up until now, BIM was used very often to just export 2D drawings, and later on it was also possible to interact with the model in the browser. But in the future, we could really use BIM for immersive experiences. And from the technical point of view, there are quite some advances, and there were some virtual reality BIM-based solutions which were commonly used by real estate investors as marketing tools, virtual tools for renting and sales. However, the real benefit comes from mixed reality, because it actually adds another layer of information to the world. And we can visualize this information and interact it in a different way than we used to in a web browser or on a 2D plans. So mixed reality can actually make complex data much easier to understand. Very briefly, I could say that we could use it in analyzing and understanding complex site locations, also during the design phase, probably the most known applications, or even on the construction site, visualize one-to-one the equipment for clash detections. As you can also try outside, because I've seen the headset from Trimble. A lot of problems can be overcome because obviously we could also use it for remote collaboration. Traveling expenses are then not more a problem, and in the future with the 5D BIM and 3D capture, we could even have the avatar transported, which can enable this direct communication through a shared experience, and we can really say we are all in a project team looking at the same problem. Here you can see the use cases I've been working on in our building, where I've been connecting the BIM model to IoT platform, and we had this live streaming of energy data. And again, there's a small video that for some reason I see it's not activated. Just briefly, I could say that there are a few virtual reality applications and very simple ways to create 360 panoramas and so forth. So when it comes to democratizing also VR and mixed reality, we are now a step further. I would like to end with BIM and lean developments. I'm not going detailed, as we have been just starting researching it, but lean construction and BIM are obviously progressing together because of all these complementarities. So with respect to the integrated project delivery, so we can really reduce waste, eliminate unnecessary processes, so not only in the construction phase, but also during the operational phase of a building. This is a case study I've been researching myself in Switzerland, which had a very innovative BIM lean logistic integrations, and the building has been finished in a record time because of the just-in-time delivery and the streamlined integration with the logistic companies in the project development. I would like to conclude with a trend and benefit enablers map, because yes, we have all these gadgets, and it's possible to do so much with these new technologies integrated with BIM. But the question is, in fact, how can we use it in our organization? How can we capture the value from all these technologies? So as you can see, there's a two-way. So inside our organization, we would need to define clearly our main objectives. Either is reducing operational costs, increasing sustainability, or so forth. And from the other side, map and capture these technologies, classify them into the common enablers, benefit enablers, and niche market enablers depending on our needs. Then obviously create a direct link to what processes needs to be changed, and then start to map the intermediate benefits, which could be then categorized into end benefits. Because we always read, yes, BIM could help with time saving and so, but it's very hard to understand what are all the interconnections which lies behind. Yes, I believe that we definitely don't need to create new software tools, but really work on integrating the existing tools. And we can, in the future, work on projects which can be shaped by this extra knowledge we bring into the project by integrating all the stakeholders, not only at building scale, but also at the neighborhood level. I could say that there are a lot of innovative BIM solutions which can overcome the lack of data exchanges, data governance questions, trust, and it's only up to us to use them and to develop use cases which can consolidate best practices in real estate to contribute to a common digital understanding of BIM benefits. And in this respect, this conference is also helping a lot, I believe. Thank you very much.